Paris, August 23, 1944. The city was hours from liberation. German occupation forces were preparing evacuation, and a French resistance leader walked into Gestapo headquarters on Avenue Foch. Voluntarily, Captain Henri Marchand, age 34, Réseau Alliance Intelligence Network, code name Corbeau, 3 years coordinating sabotage operations in occupied France. He surrendered himself at 9:15 in the morning. No ambush, no arrest. He presented himself at the front entrance, requested to speak with SD Hauptsturmführer Werner Kohl, and was escorted upstairs. The meeting lasted 40 minutes. Marchand walked out alive, uncuffed, alone. Witness statement from a French clerk working under German supervision. The captain left through the main entrance. No guards accompanied him. He walked north toward Étoile. I never saw him again. 24 hours later, Free French forces entered Paris. The Gestapo fled. Kohl disappeared in the retreat, and Marchand's name appeared on no liberation roster. No triumph parade. No recognition ceremony. He simply wasn't there. Marchand wasn't low-level resistance. Alliance was one of the most effective French intelligence networks, run by Marie-Madeleine Fourcade, directly connected to British MI6. Hundreds of agents. Classified intelligence on German positions, troop movements, weapon sites. Marchand coordinated northern France operations. Rail sabotage. Communication intercepts. Safe houses for downed Allied airmen. His record, impressive. 37 confirmed operations between 1941 and 1944. No arrests. No compromised networks. No betrayals traced to the sector. British intelligence files praise his exceptional operational security and reliable product. But 3 details suggested something else. First, Marchand traveled to Switzerland twice in 1943. Official purpose listed in Alliance records. Courier duty, intelligence transfer to British handlers. Both trips lasted 5 days. Standard courier runs took 2 days maximum. Second, his resistance cell in Rouen was raided by Gestapo in March 1944. 12 members arrested, all sent to concentration camps. Marchand wasn't in Rouen that night. He'd received last-minute instructions to remain in Paris. The warning came from an unidentified source. Alliance leadership never determined who sent it. Third, SD files captured after liberation showed Marchand's code name, Corbeau, in a June 1944 surveillance report. The notation, subject monitored but not detained per standing directive. Standing directive. From whom? Why? No explanation in the file. The British intercepted a coded German transmission on August 22, 1944. 1 day before Marchand's surrender. Source: Paris Gestapo Headquarters. Destination: Berlin SD Command. The decrypt. Release in 2003 under routine declassification. Read: Transfer protocol confirmed. Final meeting authorized. Departure arranged. Kohl: The intercept was filed as routine enemy administrative traffic. No analysis. No follow-up. It sat in an archive for 59 years. August 25, 1944. Paris liberated. Free French intelligence immediately began cataloging resistance members for recognition and vetting. Lists compiled for medals, promotions, government positions. Marchand's name wasn't submitted. Alliance leadership, Marie-Madeleine Fourcade herself, was asked about him in September 1944. Her response, documented in post-war debriefing: Captain Marchand performed valuable service until August 1944. I have no information regarding his current status or location. No elaboration. No concern expressed. The matter was dropped. British MI6 records show a similar query in October 1944. Request from Free French Intelligence. Require confirmation of Henri Marchand operational status and wartime service record for security clearance purposes. MI6 response. Records under review. Unable to provide documentation at this time. The request was never resubmitted. Marchand should have been celebrated. Resistance hero. 3 years fighting occupation. Networks intact. Operation successful. Instead, silence. If you're enjoying this story, please subscribe to support the channel. 1945 through 1960, the trials and purges. France prosecuted collaborators. Thousands tried for treason. Executions, prison sentences, public reckonings. Resistance members testified, named collaborators, provided evidence of betrayal. Marchand's name never appeared in any proceeding, not as witness, not as accused, not mentioned in testimony about compromised networks or Gestapo informants. He had simply ceased to exist in official French records. His personnel file, which should have been in Free French Forces archives, wasn't there. Alliance network files contained references to operations he coordinated, but no biographical documentation, birth records, service history, nothing. The man had been erased. French military historian researching resistance networks requested Marchand's service record for a book on Alliance operations. Response from French military archives: no record found for Henri Marchand, Alliance Network, 1941 to 1944. Suggests verification of name and organization. The historian had Marchand's code name, operational dates, British confirmation of his existence, but French archives claimed ignorance. Marie-Madeleine Fourcade published her memoir of Alliance Network operations, detailed accounts of agents, missions, betrayals, and triumphs. Marchand received 3 sentences. Captain Henri Marchand coordinated Northern Sector operations with consistent success. His fate after August 1944 remains uncertain. We honor his service. No details, no anecdotes, no explanation for a 3-year operational commander receiving 3 sentences in a 400-page book. A researcher studying Gestapo operations in Paris found references to Corbeau in captured SD files. The files showed surveillance reports dated 1943 to 1944. Marchand's movements tracked, safe houses identified, contact patterns documented, but no arrests, no raids, no action taken. The researcher requested clarification from French intelligence services. Response: Gestapo files from occupation period are incomplete and often reflect misinformation, cannot verify accuracy of surveillance claims. The surveillance reports were archived, not investigated. Swiss Federal Archives released wartime immigration records under pressure from historical research organizations. Entry record Basel, April 1943. Marchand Henri, French national. Transit authorization approved. Destination: Bern. Duration: for days. Entry record Zurich, November 1943. Marchand Henri, French national. Transit authorization approved. Destination: Geneva. Duration: 5 days. Both entries noted. Purpose: diplomatic courier. But Switzerland had no record of French diplomatic activity involving anyone named Marchand. Free France operated no official diplomatic missions in Switzerland until 1944. The researcher who found the records requested French Foreign Ministry clarification. No response was provided. Soviet archives began limited declassification after the USSR collapsed. An NKVD file from 1944 mentioned a French resistance figure code-named Corbeau in the context of Allied intelligence coordination with German anti-Nazi elements. The reference was brief. No details. No confirmation of identity. Just a code name and a report about secret negotiations between Western intelligence and Wehrmacht officers seeking separate peace arrangements. The file suggested Corbeau was involved in back-channel communications. French government response when asked: Soviet intelligence files from this period contain significant disinformation. We cannot authenticate claims without corroborating evidence. No corroborating evidence was offered. Between 1991 and 2015, for separate researchers requested French intelligence files on Henri Marchand. Response: 1991. Files under review per intelligence protection statutes. Response: 2001. No releasable documentation available. Response: 2010. Request forwarded to appropriate oversight authority. No timeline for response. Response: 2015. Material related to wartime intelligence sources remains classified under national security provisions. The pattern was consistent. Acknowledge the request. Provide no information. Close the inquiry. London, January 2024. British National Archives released MI6 files under the 80-year declassification rule. One file, Operation Railway, French Liaison and Protective Extraction, 1943 to 1945. The file had been scheduled for release in 2023. Delayed 1 year. No public explanation. 87 pages. 41 pages fully redacted. 46 pages partially released. Page 8. Primary French asset, Henri Marchand, Alliance Network, Operational Cryptonym Corbeau. Recruited March 1943 for parallel intelligence tasking. Recruited, not liaison. Recruited. The file showed MI6 made direct contact with Marchand in February 1943, not through Alliance leadership. Separate operation. The approach was made in Switzerland during his first courier trip. British handler, identified only as Officer M, Bern Station. Marchand was offered a deal. Continue resistance work. Maintain Alliance cover, but also provide intelligence directly to British handlers on a separate communications channel. The target, not German military positions, German intelligence personnel. MI6 wanted information on SD and Abwehr officers in France who might be recruitable, officers with anti-Nazi sympathies, officers who might defect or provide intelligence. Marchand agreed. For 18 months, he ran parallel operations, resistance work for Alliance, intelligence collection for MI6. The file showed he identified 7 German intelligence officers as potential assets between March 1943 and July 1944. One name appeared repeatedly, SD Hauptsturmführer Werner Kohl. Kohl was Gestapo counterintelligence in Paris, responsible for hunting resistance networks, directly involved in interrogations and arrests. But according to the MI6 file, Kohl had been in contact with British intelligence since May 1943. Through Marchand, Kohl wanted out. He knew Germany was losing. He wanted protection. In exchange, he provided intelligence on German operations against Allied networks, early warnings of planned arrests, names of collaborators, SD organizational details. The information was used to protect resistance cells, evacuate compromised agents, avoid Gestapo traps, including the warning that kept Marchand out of Rouen the night his cell was raided. Kohl had sent it. August 1944. Paris on the verge of liberation. Kohl needed extraction. The plan, Marchand would meet him at Avenue Foch headquarters. They would stage a final intelligence exchange in front of witnesses to establish Marchand's cover. Then both would disappear into the chaos of liberation. Marchand walked in on August 23rd, walked out 40 minutes later. Kohl left Paris on August 24th, one day before Allied forces arrived. MI6 arranged his extraction through Switzerland. He was debriefed for 3 months, provided intelligence on SD operations personnel and Soviet penetrations of German intelligence, then relocated. New identity, no prosecution. The file listed his new name as Wilhelm Koch, naturalized British subject, 1947. He lived in Manchester, worked as a translator, died in 1973. His obituary made no mention of wartime service. Following the British release, French intelligence declassified a corresponding file in March 2024. Direction Générale de la Sécurité Extérieure, French Foreign Intelligence, had run its own operation with Marchand beginning in May 1944. French cryptonym, Locomotive. The French knew about Marchand's British tasking. They discovered it through surveillance of Alliance communications. Instead of shutting it down, they co-opted it. Marchand became a triple operation, Alliance resistance work, British intelligence collection, French intelligence oversight. The French file confirmed Kohl's extraction and revealed something else. Marchand didn't stay in France after liberation. He was relocated to French Algeria in September 1944. New identity, Henri Moreau. French colonial administration position. Official reason, security concerns related to wartime intelligence exposure. He worked in Algiers until Algerian independence in 1962. then moved to southern France, lived quietly in Marseille. He died in 1998, age 88. Local newspaper obituary. Henri Moreau, retired civil servant, survived by 2 daughters and 4 grandchildren. No mention of resistance service. No mention of Paris. No mention of the war. But the French file contained a detail the British file didn't. A memo dated July 1944, 1 month before liberation, from French intelligence command to field officers. Subject locomotive represents ongoing intelligence value beyond immediate operational theater. Recommend long-term protective status and strategic relocation post-liberation. Marchand wasn't just protected because he'd worked with the British and helped extract a German defector. He was protected because he knew something else. The file didn't say what. Pages 34 through 58 of the French file. Fully redacted. Section heading visible. Locomotive secondary intelligence product and post-war operational significance. French intelligence explanation for continued classification. Release would compromise ongoing intelligence relationships and methodologies. The British file had a similar gap. Pages 52 through 71. Redacted. Both gaps covered the same period. May 1944 through August 1944. 3 months. The final months before liberation. A German researcher examining newly opened Wehrmacht files in 2024 found a fragmentary SD report dated July 1944. The report referenced ongoing coordination with Allied intelligence elements regarding post-war German administrative continuity and personnel security arrangements. One line mentioned French intermediary, code unknown, facilitating communication between SD elements and Western services. The report was burned. Only 2 pages survived. The rest, ash. But the date and the reference suggested something. Marchand wasn't just identifying defectors. He was facilitating negotiations between German intelligence officers who wanted to survive the war and Allied services who wanted their knowledge. Cole wasn't the only one. He was one of many. The British file says Marchand identified 7 potential German assets. The French file says he facilitated multiple protective extraction arrangements. But neither file names the others. And neither file explains why a resistance captain was trusted to negotiate with Gestapo officers on behalf of Allied intelligence services, or why his service earned him permanent silence instead of recognition. The files were opened, partially. Henri Marchand was Corbeau. He worked for Alliance, for British intelligence, and for French intelligence simultaneously. He helped extract German defectors. He survived the war and lived under an assumed name until 1998. That much is confirmed. But the full story, who the other defectors were, what they provided, and why Marchand's role required erasure from French history, is still locked. The secret was kept for 80 years. It's partially revealed now. But the final truth, the reason for 8 decades of institutional silence, remains redacted. Someone decided what could be known, and what still can't. If you like this story, please subscribe to support this channel.